Did you do it? Yeah.
We're live.
Woo, woo, woo. I forgot how to unmute. Oh, I see. All right, ladies, let's share. Oh, let me turn this on.
Your glasses are bomb, Des.
Thank you. Oh, God. Hey.
What's wrong, sugar?
I'm trying to turn your computer down.
Just turn it off.
How do I do that?
Hit the X button, sonny. Up on your left. Just hit on the X. That's the computer there.
That's what I'm trying to do, sweetheart. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you would be so kind to hit share, let people know that we are live. Oh, look at all your friends. Right. All right, ladies, I'm gonna mute you for a few minutes. Thank you, everybody. I see you coming on. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you. Let me move. Thank you. Share, let everybody know we're on. We're excited. Glad to have you all with us. We're getting ready to begin. Want to give people a chance to jump on. All right. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Donna Porter, and I want to thank you for joining me tonight for a conversation with my daughters, my beautiful, beautiful daughters. Oh, Lord. Tonight, we are here to lift our voices on behalf of Ahmaud Arbery, Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson, Breonna Taylor, Jonathan Farrell, Renisha McBride, Stephen Clark, Jordan Edwards, Jordan Davis, Alton Sterling, Ayanna Jones, Mike Brown, Tamir Rice, Charleston 9, Trayvon Martin, Sean Bell, Oscar Grant, Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, Corey Jones, John Crawford III, Terrence Crutcher, Keith Scott, Clifford Glover, Claude Reese Jr., Randy Evans, Yvonne Smallwood, Amadou Diallo, Walter Scott, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray, George Floyd. And believe it or not, right before I came into my office to do tonight's live on the news was another name, Manuel Ellis. He died on March the 3rd. He also said, "I can't breathe." It was ruled a homicide. He died at the scene in Tacoma, Washington. And so I am adding Manuel Ellis to this list tonight. We are doing this in behalf of all of those people. I think it's important to acknowledge as well that not all of them are men, that there are some women on the list as well. And I know when I did the other show, I talked about some things that I was going to do coming up, but it really stirred in my heart to do a conversation with my daughters. A week ago, actually 1 week ago tonight, I had a conversation with my sons, and over 8,500 people viewed it. Since then, many people have reached out to me to share how it impacted them, people of all races. You see, conversations are powerful tools. Conversations create opportunities for understanding, for healing, for reconciliation. But in order for any of these things to take place, we must first be willing to hear. I know of some people who didn't stay on last week's conversation. They didn't stay for the complete conversation, and therefore they walked away from the opportunity. This conversation tonight is for the courageous. See, it takes courage to be uncomfortable. Yeah, I mean uncomfortable. It takes courage to hear what you don't like to hear, so real change can take place. This conversation tonight will be challenging because it will be truthful, yet respectful. We may talk about some things that may be difficult to hear. We may even talk about some things that may hurt. I saw a post last night that said, "Hurt must be heard before it can be healed." That thing was so powerful to me. And I want to be sure that everybody hears that tonight. Hurt must be heard before it can be healed. So tonight, I declare, let the hearing and the healing begin. I want each of my daughters to introduce themselves to you. I want you guys to be able to hear my babies, my beautiful girls. Hey, would you guys go ahead and unmute yourselves? Let's see if I can get this right. All right, let's see if mommy knows what she's doing here. Let's see. There we go. Unmute yourselves now. I'm sorry. You should be able to do it. There you go. All right, Jessica, would you introduce yourself to everyone?
So hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Butler. I am married to Danny and Destiny's oldest brother, Darnell, and Donna Porter's oldest son Darnell. And I'm in Tampa, Florida.
All right. Destiny, would you unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
My name is Destiny Moore. I live in Greensboro, North Carolina. Hi, everybody.
And who you married to? Because they got a chance to meet your husband last
I'm
week.
married to Jannard. He goes by Jay Moore.
All right. And Danielle, introduce yourself, sweetheart. Okay, let me ask you, unmute yourself now, Peanut.
I like that you call me Peanut.
I know, I'm going to.
I'm Danielle. What am I supposed to say? I live in
If
Redding,
you-
California. I don't know what number in the lineup I am, 5.
You're the baby girl.
Yeah, I am.
She's a baby girl and she's glad to be. Can't you guys tell that? All right. Before I begin with my questions for my daughters, we must first acknowledge that in the United States of America, white privilege exists. We must also acknowledge that for many, just seeing someone Black causes them to fear without even knowing anything about the person. We must also acknowledge that racism is a learned behavior and it's passed down from generation to generation, and it must be stopped. So again, I'm gonna declare and say to everybody who's watching, thank you for sharing. Please let other people know about this. Help us get the word out. Again, I wanna say this conversation is for the courageous, right? Because it takes courage to be uncomfortable. Again, I want to say to you, it takes courage to hear what you don't like to hear. So real change can take place. This conversation will be challenging because we're going to be truthful yet respectful. We're going to talk about some things that may be difficult for you to hear, and we may even talk about some things that may hurt. So again, tonight I'm saying to you about the post that I saw last night that said, hurt must be heard before it can be healed. Whew. A lot is taking place within a week. We just did this conversation with my sons on last Friday night, and there has been so much that has happened since that time. We've seen protests, we've seen riots, we've seen all kinds of things, people speaking out, and it's been a lot going on. But my first question, and I want to ask all of you together to answer this question. My first question is, have you ever been a victim of racism? Raise your hands and speak out. You got to unmute yourself and talk now.
Yes.
All right. I think it's important for people to understand that if you're Black, that answer is yes. Every single one of us have experienced racism in some form. 24 hours, 7 days a week, we don't ever get to stop being Black. It comes along with the package. And I'm going to ask some questions here and give them opportunities to share their hearts about some things. And again, I want you to have courage. I need you to have courage tonight. I need you to be able to hear what people are saying and be able to digest it. One of the things that I would like to see happen tonight is that you allow what you hear to identify racism if it's in your heart. The reality to recognize it, because sometimes you don't recognize it, you don't think so, and then you hear something that goes, wait a minute, I didn't even know that I felt that way. And so we're going to deal with some things tonight. You guys ready?
Yep.
Jessica, when did you personally realize that you being Black was an issue or a problem for some people?
Wow. For me, it happened probably a little later in life than most. And I think, as crazy as it sounds, is because I was raised in predominantly white schools. So for years, I didn't even realize I was different. I remember the moment I realized I looked differently than my friends. I was in second grade and I literally just scratched my arm. And it sounds crazy, but I scratched my arm. And a little girl that I was sitting next to, I remember her face. I think I'm actually Facebook friends with her. She asked me what was wrong with my arm because she could see where I had scratched my arm, and she put her arm against mine. And that's when I was like, oh, we're different. We look differently. The first time that I ever realized it being an issue, I was in high school. And coming out of the school that I was previously in, from preschool to eighth grade, I grew up with a lot of those kids. So for me, it was meeting new kids and realizing that these kids have preconceived notions about who I am, how I speak, where I'm from, how I grew up, whether or not I have a dad. And I wasn't welcomed in everybody's circle. For me, it was just that, just knowing that I wasn't welcomed at certain people's homes because not everybody's parents felt comfortable having their daughter being friends with a little Black girl. And that wasn't everybody, but I definitely heard it. So for me, it was probably ninth grade.
How did that impact you?
Again, kind of growing up in those circles, in elementary school, in middle school, when new Black kids would come to our school, because I grew up with them from preschool, I immediately saw the differences. And I started hearing you don't act Black, Jessica. You don't sound Black. And so in my young mind, I connotated acting Black as not being right. Their definition of acting Black, which I didn't even realize was a racist statement at the time. So for me, I did everything in my power to not act Black. I didn't want to sound Black. I became a people pleaser, and I wanted to fit in everybody's circle, and I wanted to be Black enough for the Black kids, but not quite Black enough to hang out with the white kids.
That term, acting Black, how did that make you feel hearing that? You don't act Black.
Yeah, less than. Because I look in the mirror and I see Black. I looked at my mom and I saw a Black woman who didn't, quote unquote, act Black. So I felt less than. I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere, really.
Wow. Destiny, when did you personally realize that you being Black was an issue or a problem for some people?
I would say, I feel like Jessica as well with that. I would say probably middle school, definitely, and then even more so in high school. You realize that you're different, because I think that I grew up with a lot of white people. You know, we lived in predominantly white neighborhoods, you know, pretty much all of my life. And so I am used to being around white people. And so I definitely noticed the difference when I got into middle school and high school. You realize that you don't necessarily fit into certain circles, and you realize that there are different circles of people when you get into middle school and high school. So within those years and that time frame, I definitely noticed that, hey, I am different from other people. And I 100% have experienced, you don't act Black, all of that, everything, that Jessica said, I completely agree and have experienced that as well.
How did that moment impact you?
It impacted me because I had to learn to be different with different people. You grow up one way, being this way predominantly, being around more white people, and then trying to be different to be around other Black people, or to just be around more Black people. So it's crazy, because you have to kind of alter yourself, is what I feel like. It's like I had to learn to alter myself and be different with different groups. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. What's the difference? Like, how did you have to be when you were with Black people? How did you have to be when you were with other races? Or what was the difference for you?
The difference is, in the way that you talk, the way that you exchange in conversation, the way that you joke, and the way that you don't joke when you're with a different race of people. The way that you literally talk, the language is different, the culture is different. So the words that you use, all of that changes from one group to the next, is what I feel like.
So good. Thank you. Danielle.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you personally realize that you being Black was an issue or a problem for some people?
My first memory of realizing like, oh, you Black, you can't do what they do, is when I was in the first grade, I think, and I woke up and I saw people outside playing in the cul-de-sac, and I was like, heck yeah, and went outside to go play and didn't stop to get the mom do your hair thing check, and got roasted. They were like, what the heck? And I was like, oh, so I can't do what y'all do. I can't just wake up and run out here and start playing. I gotta stop at the hair checkpoint before I can be rolling with y'all. So that was probably the first one. And then there was another one in the 5th grade where I used to hang out at a friend's house across the street, and I just started to feel like these differences, like just started to feel unwelcome, if that would make sense. But when you're in the 5th grade, you don't have the logic for that. So I just knew like something is off. Like, this is uncomfortable. I think I want to play, but I really want to run away and leave.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would probably be the second time. I was like, something's off. I don't know what I did wrong. Maybe I didn't wear the right shoes, but I had an inkling that it was deeper than that. But I was, it was 5th grade.
So what did you pick up on? What was it that made you feel something's off?
I just discerned that I was unwelcome. There was like this thick presence of like, you're not supposed to be in this space. Wow. So that's the best I could describe it. I'm a gut person, and I walked up in there and I was like, you need to get out.
Okay, how did that impact you? That experience. Let's start with the first one. Running outside.
Yeah, that was embarrassing. I still carry that deep in my heart. Like 1st grade Danielle probably still needs some therapy about that. That is deep. Anything connected to hair and embarrassment in other cultures is like a deep sense of pain for me still to this day. And I don't know if that would be any Black woman or if it's just because of that moment, but that was a scarring moment. Like I still be like, ooh, 1st grade Danielle. I feel that pain. So that was hard. I think the other one, I did not really make the connection as to why I was so uncomfortable until I was older. And then I was like, oh, that's what that junk was. Like, that's what that spirit was. Okay.
And yeah, because when did you realize that? When did you realize what that was back then?
Dude, when I was in this apartment, when I was old, and I was like, Dad, is that what was going on? And he finally told me, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, so I'm grown. And I'm just now realizing like, oh, that's that spirit that okay, got it.
Yeah, it's interesting how as we start reflecting on racial injustices, memories come up, situations come up, things that we remember that took place at that time. We didn't have the knowledge to really understand what that was then.
Yeah.
What about now as an adult? Jessica, do you have an adult moment that you dealt with racism?
Absolutely. For me, for the last almost 15 years, I've worked with the elderly, and I cannot tell you how many times I've been called the N-word. And what you're told is
by the elderly?
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
No shame.
You're told that's the time period they grew up in, or it's Alzheimer's and dementia.
Okay.
Either way, You're supposed to be okay with it and still do your job. And of course I'm going to do my job. But what in you thought that was okay even years ago? Why did you feel so comfortable throwing that out at me? You know, and I'm trying to help you. So there's been that. I've had instances where I've been followed in stores. Yeah, I've dealt with police before, you know, pulling you over, and it's like, I drove off without a ticket because you had no reason to pull me over in the first place. You can't justify this. And I think that the biggest way that is constantly at the forefront of my mind every day is in work. I seek to work harder than my white counterparts. I'm going to get up and I'm going to be there earlier and I'm going to stay later, because you're not going to say that I can't do something or I didn't do something because I'm the Black girl and you gave me a pass because you needed to fill a quota. I will not allow you to say that about me.
Wow.
I'm going to show you that I deserve to be here right alongside of you. Yeah.
Wow. Just that innate feeling that we have to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's real important for people of other cultures, other races to understand, that it comes along, right? That comes along with being Black. This feeling that I have to prove myself. I have to be better. I can't let my guard down. I've got to work harder. I got to be smarter. That whole thing just to be kind of equal where you are.
Yep.
Destiny, what about you as an adult?
As an adult, I definitely have experienced that. And I would say, you know, I'm an adult now and I'm at a place where, you know, I want to be able to have a house. And, you know, just going through that process alone, you know, trying to get approved, you know, to be able to get one. I've experienced racism in that area where, you know, they're looking at, you know, all of my situations and all the things I have going on. And they're saying, oh, well, you need to work on this, this, and this before we can even consider you being the one to get this house. But I'm like, I know I have friends all up and down my timeline who have these things already. And I just don't feel like those things are an issue when it comes to them purchasing property or getting houses. So I know that I've experienced racism in that level of just trying to get things, you know, trying to get approved for, you know, even vehicles and things like that. That stuff comes out all the time in those arenas and just trying to get the same things that other people have.
Wow. All right, Danielle, an adult experience of racism.
I think most of my experiences look a little bit different now that I'm out here in Reading and I'm just saturated in a culture that's it's 1.49% Black. So most of my struggle is not striving to be better or work harder. Most of mine is to appear softer, appear kinder, to appear more tender, a lot of like toning everything down and making sure that all of my emotions come across in a palatable way. That is kind of where I see a lot of racism. I don't even know if that's the correct word, maybe discrimination, or, you know, people have tendency to have a stereotype about me. They think that I'm going to respond in this way. So a lot of my work is I don't get to respond that way. And I have to make sure that I am responding in a kinder, softer way all of the time. I'm not allowed to have frustration as an emotion. That's not afforded to me. I'm not allowed to be upset. That's not something I'm allowed to feel or allowed to display anyway, in a great amount of spaces. So that's what it looks like for me.
Just that line, I'm not allowed to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not allowed to, why?
A lot of people find it intimidating. I mean, they find your presence intimidating, period, no matter what you do. Mm-hmm. But especially if you prove them right on what they already think you're going to be like. So if you show anger, it's like, ha, I knew it, you know? And that's the stereotype. That is the stereotype about Black women. It's that we are the angry Black women. So anything that could possibly look like anger, I am not allowed to display. And quite frankly, any other emotions I have that are not even anger, they get navigated or interpreted as anger, even if it's not, which is, super frustrating. So you could actually be sad and they're like, why do you have an attitude? And I'm like, oh, great. Okay, cool. I was trying. I mean, vulnerability was there, but it's not being perceived well right now. That's good. And yeah, so I think that's probably been super frustrating. Like, I'm actually trying to appear tender to you right now, and every single emotion I have is reciprocated or received as anger, aggression, which is just defeating. It's defeating. It makes you just want to like, well, fine. I'll just keep these feelings to myself then. Bye.
Yeah, really powerful. Jessica, I want to ask you this question. Again, last Friday night, I did a conversation with my sons. My oldest son, Darnell, is your husband. What was it like to hear your husband's heart about racism and being a Black man in America?
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking just knowing. I didn't even know everything that he told me. To know that my husband, and when it was said, I thought about it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have heard my husband say that. But when it was mentioned about when you walk in the store, take your hands out of your pockets. I mean, I didn't realize that was something that was present in his mind when he's in the store. I know firsthand about, some different situations and scenarios where he has been stereotyped, discriminated against, harassed by police officers. But hearing it is hard. And I hate to say it, a part of me is a little desensitized to it, where I just expect it. I didn't know some stories, but hearing it, it's like, that sounds about right. And no other emotion. You know what I mean? Just being honest, because I expect it. And I know from stories from other Black men in my life, family members and friends knowing their stories, to hear that my husband has similar stories is heartbreaking, but not necessarily surprising. It's just not.
Wow. Ooh. Destiny, what was it like for you to hear Jannard's heart about racism and being a Black man in America?
It's hard to hear those things, but I mean, it's almost expected to hear those things. I'm a Black woman and I can't imagine what it would be like to be a Black man. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
Because I just feel like the level is just so much greater than what we even experience. And so it's heartbreaking. It literally is heartbreaking because you feel like, it's like I understand because I'm a Black person as well, but it's just like that next level. And so it makes you kind of feel like helpless, like, what can I do? Mm-hmm. Like, what can I do?
Wow. So when you heard some of the things he said, because I know you were on watching, what was going through your mind as you're hearing him?
Shaking my head. just like, just like, dag, like, this is crazy. This is the world that we live in. This is crazy, but this is what it is. This is the everyday occurrence. This is everyday experiences. This is what it is.
Wow. Danielle.
Yeah, ask me about my husband, mommy.
He's not here yet, Danielle. Maybe he's watching.
My turn.
Maybe he's watching. What was it like for you to hear your brother's hearts about racism and being a Black man in America?
I was boohoo crying. that really messed me up to hear that. And especially, well, I mean, all of them were touching, but like hearing Darnell talk about how terrified he is for his kids and knowing my nephew's personalities and knowing that they're so playful, like they love to joke, they're hilarious. And just the same kind of thought that he had, like that we have to think like, oh, if he makes a joke at the wrong time, I was like, oh God, no, because all they do is joke. Like, what are we gonna do? So that for me, that messed me up. It messed me up to see him so terrified. Yeah, and to feel like there is nothing to do, because at this point, like what we're seeing on the news is like you can't sleep, you can't walk, you can't shop, you can't, So at this point, it's really sorry, y'all, I don't know how to turn those notifications off. It's debilitating. You're like, there's nothing I can do but to push through this tension, I guess.
Well, desensitized, almost expected, to feel like there's nothing to do, debilitating. It's almost like we just all need to pause and just meditate right in that moment right there. Desensitized. It's happening so much. I heard all of my sons express, and I believe David more so, it's like, who's gonna be next? To have to live with that kind of expectation, like it's going to be another one. Like for me tonight, before we came on, like 10 minutes before I walk into this office, my husband's out watching the news, and for me to see another name saying I can't breathe, another Black man down on the ground with a knee in his neck, same instance. And to hear you say almost expected, and to hear, I call Danielle Peanut, to hear Peanut say, to feel like there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. I don't know if people of other cultures, other races, ethnicities understand that sense of hopelessness. Right? To feel like there's nothing to do. And to hear you say, Destiny, I'm a Black woman and I can't imagine being a Black man. Yeah. Jessica, that statement, do you also concur with that statement? I'm a Black woman, I can't imagine being a Black man.
100%. 100%, because I have been discriminated against and I have had situations and things like that. But I mean, I know people that have been pulled over 2-3 times in a day. Like one day, because the report was a stolen vehicle and you don't run the plate before you pull them over. I can't imagine being a Black man. I can't. It breaks my heart to think about my sons, and it's no, I can't.
What about you, Danielle? I'm a Black woman. I can't imagine being a Black man. What does that make you think?
Yeah, the same thing. There's just a lot more. There's a lot more to the history of what it means to be a Black man. I think a lot of times in slavery, like when you're studying the history, the women were victims and they kind of slid under the radar until they started doing all these cool, powerful educational things. But for the men, there is a constant, what's it called when you like make somebody seem like they're the attacker all the time, that's constant, like, oh, the Black man is dangerous, the Black man is this, the Black man is that, oh, we need to watch out for him. Like that has happened to them repeatedly over history, and that necessarily hasn't happened to us where they have viewed us as a threat, but they have been viewed as a threat for centuries, and it's still carrying over. So I don't know. I know it's different, and I know can't imagine what that would be like.
Jessica, where were you when you heard about George Floyd?
I was getting ready to go to bed. It was last Monday night, I think it was. And back to desensitization. I
Wait,
heard it.
don't tell anything yet. Just tell me
Okay.
where you were.
I was getting ready to go to bed.
This is what I like you to do. Please use 3 adjectives that describe what you felt in that moment.
Tired, frustrated, angered, angry.
Tell me why.
I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of us saying this is wrong. You can't do this to people. Frustrated because it's like, I feel like over the years, there's been a whole, like this goes back so far that I feel like a lot of people don't understand. And I think that's why a lot of them are frustrated with the whole Black Lives Matter phrase, because they don't understand the history behind it. It's like, we are emancipated from slavery, then the prisons fill up. And now it's like, I felt like he was detained. I felt like he was tried, convicted, and sentenced in 8 minutes and 46 seconds. He was sentenced to death without hearing anything, without him. I mean, they say innocent until proven guilty. Not if you're dead, you know? So I'm frustrated. I'm so frustrated because you feel helpless. Like what more can we do to make our voices heard? I don't understand it.
So good. Destiny, where were you when you heard about George Floyd?
I was at home. I heard about it on Facebook and Instagram.
Please share with me 3 adjectives that describe what you felt in that moment.
Angry, overwhelmed, and if I could, it just goes back to the overwhelmed thing, because it's almost like I felt, man, I don't even know how to explain this, but like I felt like my mind was in like a turmoil, like I don't know if you would call it like racing, or that's why I'm sticking with the overwhelmed, because there were so many things attached to the overwhelming, the overwhelmment from it, just like confused.
Wow. Tell me why.
Well, for one, because I'm such a processor already. It was just like too much to process. Not now. Must escape from this. I can't deal with it. And so I wanted it to go away. Honest to God. I just wanted to escape from it. But guess what? I'm Black, so I can't escape from it. But yeah, that's how I felt.
Wow.
Thank you.
Woo. Danielle, where were you when you heard about George Floyd?
I really do not know. That's the sad thing, is it's become so regular that I do not know. I don't know where I was when I heard each one. I don't know. Was that the one? Which one was it? Was that the one where I was scrolled on Instagram, and was it before or after I just watched this other video of this dude being beat in the street? And was it before or after? It's gotten that crazy that I don't know. And so I'm with Destiny. I am overwhelmed.
Okay, wait, you giving me your 3 adjectives?
Okay.
Go.
I was
Go ahead.
overwhelmed. I feel at capacity for this particular trauma. I feel at capacity. I cannot process this particular thing anymore. So I feel at my limit with George. I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I there's no more space in my brain to work through these things, because before we even get to process through the grief and trying to understand what just happened to Ahmaud, there's another one.
Yeah.
Like I can't keep up with these. So I feel a little bit shut down. I feel powerless because it just keeps happening before I even get to have a chance to react to the other one. And I feel annoyed that it keeps happening.
I don't know if overwhelmed to capacity. I missed the third one though. And why is that? Is that because they keep coming?
Yeah. We don't even get to give each one proper attention.
Oh, that's so good.
We don't get to grieve each one at a normal, you know, we don't get to grieve it. Like something that happened, people are still grieving Emmett Till. Let's just be real. People are still grieving that happened to a little boy. And since then, there have been so many names, so many lives, and Black people are tribal people. So what happens to one of us happens to all of us, and we grieve it deeply, like it was our brother, like it was our father, like it was our cousin. And so when all of these names just keep coming and coming and coming and coming, and we don't have a place to, you know, there's not enough time. And now with the added stress of the whole world being on us as we grieve, because before white people didn't even know we were out here being murdered in the streets, and we just grieved by ourselves. But now we have everybody watching us grieve. And so the trauma is out of this world for this particular situation.
I watched another conversation on last evening, and I heard a spiritual leader ask the question, or he actually shared what he was thinking. And he's like, why are you responding like that? You don't know George Floyd.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like you don't know George Floyd. See, people of other cultures don't understand why we're responding the way we're responding, because like, is he a relative of yours? Is he your brother? Is he your uncle? He's your cousin. Somebody speak to that. Jessica, why are we responding the way we are about somebody we don't know?
Because he is our brother. Because the fact of the matter is he's not the first one. It's like with what happened with Ahmaud, how they were saying they weren't arrested because they saw it. They were arrested because we saw it and we spoke up and we immediately became Ahmaud's family.
Right.
Danielle hit it on the nail. We are tribal people. It's why, correct me if I'm wrong, Black people, but when we see each other out in public, we nod.
What's up?
We do. We may not know you. I grew up in a neighborhood where we knew most people, but even if we didn't, we threw a hand up and we said hello. We have looked out for each other for centuries.
Yes.
When other people did not look out for us. You became our family. We literally got separated. Moms and sons and daughters and husbands and wives, we got separated. We immediately had to become family with whoever was around us, and we had to look out for each other. That has never stopped.
Oof.
For you to become shocked that we get enraged when one of us gets killed in the street, you're out of touch. You're out of touch. You don't understand the history. I'm sorry, but you don't.
Destiny?
We react and respond the way we do when one of this happens to one of us because it invokes trauma and it unleashes oppression. And we all feel it.
Yeah.
We all feel it. What you're seeing in social media are the effects of trauma, the effects of oppression.
Yeah.
Oppression is a stronghold, you know, it's in the mind. So what you're seeing is the effects and the weight of oppression to see somebody who looks like you treated that way repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Danielle, what do you have to say to that?
Make it plain, Destiny. I'll speak to it on an educational level. Not that those weren't educated answers, but textbook, which anybody could research. So I am baffled as to how people still don't know this. But America is a individualistic culture, which means they think self-oriented. They think success driven, competition, goal oriented. How can I get to the top? That's how America thinks. And I remember reading my textbook in my intercultural communication class and thinking, that's not Black people. We don't operate that way. Like, we don't fit in that category. And then I went over to the collectivist culture, which is cultures like Africa, Japan. They are family oriented. They are group harmony oriented. What is best for the group is what we will all do. They put each other first. They think we minded, which is why you always hear Black people talking like we, because we are tribal people. And that's historical. It's in the textbooks. And I think that is why we do what we do. We think as we think. And honestly, because of the way the world is, when a Black person gets shot or when a Black person does something, they don't put your full name in there and all of the things that you do and all of the wonderful things that you have. They just say Black man in the street, jogging, dead. Okay, so who's that tripping? That's all of us. So it could have been, in our brains, that could have been any of us. That could have been any Black man jogging, 25, dead. You know, so it registers on a widespread level that if that could have happened to that Black man who is jogging and is now in the street dead, it could have happened to me.
Wow. Today, I watched the video of George Floyd again several times because I wanted to carry the weight of the moment when I ask you this next question. First, I want to talk to the audience. Footage reveals that George Floyd used his final breaths to call for his mother. Mothers around the world heard him say, "Mama, mama." I read an article that said when mothers around the world heard this, we let out a collective wail. I believe that mothers of every tribe, every nation, every tongue felt the pain of that moment. Because deep down in the depths of our beings as mothers, all we ever want to be able to do is come when our babies call us. But in order to understand the impact of this, you must understand something about our culture and the role of the Black woman. I was so glad that Daniel kept bringing up that tribal community that we have as a people. So you may not be able to understand this if you're of another race, another culture, another ethnicity, unless you understand our culture as a people and how the role of the Black woman, what it plays in our lives. See, Big Mama is a mother to us. So let me tell you, Big Mama is your grandma, your grandmother, your nana. Big Mama is a mother to us. Auntie, TT, whatever you call your aunts, is a mother to us. Miss Ruthie up the street
Absolutely.
is a mother to us. Our friends' mothers are mothers to us. So when George Floyd called out for his mama, all mothers were summoned. Every single woman heard the cry as if he was calling for them. I wanted to jump up and go get him. It was like he was calling out to me. So Jessica, hearing the cry of our Black men is not something new to us. How did this impact you? Hearing him cry, "Mama"? A few seconds go by and he said, "Mama." How did that impact you?
That was hard. It's funny when these things happen, I'm always like, I'm not going to watch the video. And I end up watching the video. this video I watched until that moment. It's funny that you point out that moment. I watched it until that moment, and then I had to pause it and fast forward to the end because it hit. It hit so hard. I think regardless of your age, whether mom is living or dead, mom is a safe place. I said I wasn't gonna cry, but mom is a safe place. And whether it's Big Mama or Nana, which I had both, or those ladies down the street, or the ladies, that are friends with my parents, they're my mother figures. And when you're going through, a lot of times that's the first phone call you make. I don't care if it's, I need help with this recipe, or if it's, I was done wrong, or I had a hard day at work. That's the person you call. And that the fact that he used some of his last breaths that we all watch
Yes.
to call for her was like gut wrenching. It was gut wrenching because it was like that desperation. This man's over 6 feet tall and he's calling for his mom. Jesus, like it hit me hard.
Destiny, hearing the cry of our Black men, again, is not something new to us. How did hearing him call for his mama impact you?
Wow. I mean, it's almost hard to put into words. I could not watch that. I could not watch that. I could not watch it. I just could not watch it. It's just like a next level hopelessness, next level helplessness. My God, I can't even, because we all know that his mother passed away. So for him to be calling for her, it's just like, it just brought him back to that innocent child state of when nothing else as a child, if there's nothing else to be done, you have your mom, your mom is going to be there, you can call for your mother, your mom's going to make it right, and wow, I mean, I can't even put it into words. I really can't. Hard to watch. Mm-mm.
It's so crazy because just now I'm thinking about when you were at the hospital and you were in labor, and Jay calls me on the phone, and I'm downstairs in the hospital. I'm on my way, and Jay calls and he says, "Ma, hurry up and get up here. She don't want nobody but you." Right? Just that right there came back to me at that time. Who you called for, Danielle? What was that like for you, baby, to hear him say mama?
I did not hear him say mama because I will not watch that video, never have seen that video, and never shall. So I have no idea what it's like to hear him say that because I prefer to keep my brain cells.
That's so okay. So tell why. What do you think that would do? Why did you make that choice?
Because it's not healthy. It's not normal. Like it's not normal to witness these things. Like that messes you up. It jacks you up to witness these things. And with the way it is right now on social media, you can't pick whether or not you see it or whether or not you accidentally scroll past it because everybody's sharing this man's death like it's a Tic Tac commercial. And so I'm not going to subject myself to that at this present moment or any moment ever. That's how I feel about that.
That is so good. Jessica, as a mother yourself, what do you tell your children?
This time, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we've exhausted the conversations of listen to what they tell you to do.
Yeah.
Don't resist. If they ask you for your license, for your registration, present it to them. Keep your hands on the wheel. If they tell you to get down, get down. I don't know, because I don't know how to answer the next question is of he did that, but he's not here. I don't know how to answer that question.
Right.
So I don't necessarily have the words to say about this, other than the fact that they were wrong. I think it's important to have the conversation with your kids. I think it needs to happen. I wish that more conversations had happened with other people in authority, officers, lawmakers, and things like that. I wish those kind of conversations had happened in their homes when they were children, and maybe we wouldn't be where we are today. I don't know, but the conversation needs to happen. It's just, I have to be honest with them and with myself to tell them, mommy doesn't have all the answers right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Destiny, you're a new mom. How does this make you feel as a new mom? How do you think you'll have to prepare Madison as she gets older?
I know all the things that I'll have to say. I know all the things that I have to tell her, just from hearing, like Jessica and Darnell and you guys and the things that you've already had to tell. I honestly don't know. For me, it's hard for me to even go to that place and to even try to, I don't want to think about it. And that's just where I'm at. This is like, I don't even want to have to think about conversations that I have to have with my child.
Yeah.
When they're a child and like really can't even understand why we have to have these conversations. I mean, I just don't even want to bring that on them. But I know that I have to. And honest to God, I try not to even think about what that will be like. Because I just feel like I feel like it takes away from even just their youthfulness, just being a child should be a child, a child should be able to play. And I feel like it'll take my child from being a child into almost being like an adult, or like having to have them to grow up quicker than they should, because they shouldn't have to know these things. They shouldn't have to internalize these things. They shouldn't have to think these things. They shouldn't have to worry about, what they do with their hands. They shouldn't have to worry about any of these things. And I just hate to even think that I'll have to put that on Madison. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now Danielle is the auntie to all of them, right? She's the one to make them rotten.
I did not do that.
How does that make you feel about your nieces and nephews, the children that are in your life?
I don't know if I can really like take on what you guys are possibly feeling, but I know it's made me not want to have kids, which is pretty extreme, because all I wanted to do was spew out babies one day.
16.
I wanted to deliver babies. I've worked at several nurseries. That's all I've ever wanted to do, was to be a mom. And at this point, I'm like, I can barely handle the anxiety that I am going through. There is no way that I will sign myself up to feel the fear and anxiety of a husband who will go through this, and the fear and anxiety of protecting a child through this. I'm like, you can count me out on that. Y'all fix the world. And then that's when I'll even consider.
Wow.
Anything. That's how dramatic it has been for me. I'm like, I'm not bringing anybody else into this anxiety swirl. Yeah, so fix the world, and then we'll talk about my gorgeous babies being upon the earth. But not a moment before, not a single moment before will we discuss it.
Wow.
Oh, mommy, can I speak to something Destiny said?
Yes.
I think a lot of the world's like views, they have a hard time viewing Black children as children. You know, like Tamir, they thought he was this age, they thought he was this age, they thought he was older. They're children. But I think it goes hand in hand because they don't see our children as children. Our children are not allowed to be children. It goes both ways. You know, we have to teach them to think like adults who are on the run.
Come on.
And it's this cycle of like, we're raising kids who aren't actually kids, and they're taking out kids as they're adults, but they're actually kids. And it's just this thing that I'm not quite sure how we break, but I am recognizing that cycle is that they don't see children as children, and we don't get to raise children.
Wow.
Wow.
So profound.
Yeah. And I want us to rest in these moments, to hear these things. And I'm hoping that our friends of different cultures, different ethnicities and races are hearing these things. I want the weight of it. I want the weight of it to rest upon the hearts of people. Jessica, what do you say to white people, other races that are not Black, who think we're just making this more than what it is?
I had to contain myself. I feel like if you don't see it, I feel like you have blinders on, and you're not paying attention to what's happening. That it's a systemic problem. And if you don't see it as a systemic problem, you don't realize how we got here. I know, and I have friends who are so angry and so frustrated, they don't want to have the conversation with white people right now, or with people from another race right now because they're so frustrated. And the response is, there's enough history books and there are enough documentaries for you to go educate yourself. And while that is true, we don't send our kids to school with textbooks and let the teachers sit. And I feel like some of us have to be willing to have the conversations. I feel like there are a lot of us who are willing to have the conversations. I don't think there's ready ears right now. I don't think everybody's ready to hear it, because it's going to take them looking in the mirror and realizing that maybe I have been a part of the problem, even if just passively part of the problem. You have to be prepared to realize if you are, and then when you realize, if you realize that you are part of the problem, you can't let it paralyze you.
Yeah.
You have to act. There's something you have to do. It may mean having a difficult conversation, and I'm not talking about Facebook wars in the comment section under a picture that angers you or frustrates you, but picking up the phone or sitting face to face with somebody and talking about your perception, however wrong it may be. But conversations have to happen. If we are so angered by what we're seeing, which we should be, but if we're so angered to the point where we can't come together and talk, we'll be having this conversation again in 10 years, maybe 10 months.
Wow. Destiny?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes.
Thanks.
White people or people of other races besides Black, what would you say to them who think we're just making this more than what it is?
I 100% say to anybody who says that we are making this more than it is, that you are blind. 100%. And I completely stand by that. I believe we need to move past this. You are part of the problem. I'm tired of that because it's not doing anything. What I want to move to is saying to people and calling out that you have a blindness, and you need to really work on that, because the system is set up to only advance one type of person. And if you can't see that, you have a blindness. If you can't acknowledge that, you have a blindness. And you need to come to terms with that and realize that you have something to do with that. And again, what Jessica said about the paralysis. I mean, people have to realize that injustice and racism, that they have a part to play in it. You can't just be silent anymore. Those days are over. You have to decide. You have to decide. You have to make a choice. You have to take a stance. You have to do something. You can't just act like you don't see it. And what frustrates me is the people acting like they don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is so problematic. And that to me says that there's something going on. There's some part of you that needs to be enlightened with this whole racial thing that's going on. Because if you can sit and literally not speak and literally feel like your tongue is tied, because I'm hearing a lot of people saying, I don't know what to say, or I don't know what to do. Start with saying racism is wrong. I mean, just that one little statement of racism is wrong. Racism is wrong. You should start there. I think that even if you just start there, just saying racism is wrong, Black lives do matter, because they do, I think that it would help so many people get to a place where their eyes begin to be opened. I mean, but you have to speak first and be able to at least be able to say that, instead of going the opposite direction and saying, but what did this person do to deserve that? Because that's what the system has created and made all these things. It makes all these things possible, is because they're always saying, well, what did this person do to have this happen to them? And we have got to get away from that. Every race that does something should be held accountable for what they do. But it seems as if the Black race is always the one that is tried and, like we were saying, just tried right there. We don't get the same treatment as if somebody else did the same thing. And so we got to get rid of all the buts. Get rid of it. Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
And open your eyes.
Danielle, what would you say to people who are not Black, who think we're just making this more than what it is?
I mean, first of all, if you don't know the Lord, then there's like no point in even discussing this with you. But if you are a believer, I would say get with the Holy Spirit and let him bust you about the head and face. That's what I would say, because there's no way in the world that you're going to get with the Holy Spirit and he's going to tell you Black lives don't matter. There's no way you're going to get with God and he's going to tell you they're just making that up. They're not hurting. Like what Jesus would do that? So I think there's some inner, you just need to get with the Lord. You just need to get with the Lord and let him get you real good. That's my personal opinion. What was the rest of the question, Mommy? I'm getting angry.
I actually saw a video yesterday of a Black woman who felt that very same thing, who felt like we're making more of this than it really is, and that focused in on he was a criminal and focused in on that part of it. How does that make you feel as a Black woman, Jessica?
I saw that video. And I was so frustrated because I felt like it was so counterproductive to what everything is about right now. And it's not even just right now, our history, our literal, her history. I'm looking at you. I don't know your mom, your dad, but all that melanin in your skin, honey, we probably got the same track if you go back far enough. And it was after I got over my anger with her. No, I'm not over it. I'm still angry with her and what she's doing. But like I was sad for her because I feel like she is literally denying a piece of her. Like I almost imagine her ancestors looking down at her like, are you serious? Like you're literally denying me and what I went through. I feel like there's a whole lot of assimilation and a whole lot of self-love that she's lacking.
Wow. Destiny?
You got to repeat the question again. I'm sorry.
What would you have to say about there are people within our own race who feel like we're making more of this than it is?
I don't know any of those people. Who are they? Because I need to be talking right now.
Because you need.
I don't know those people. I'm serious. Nobody that I know is saying that at all. My friends are texting me saying they're tossing and turning in the night and crying.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know those people.
I'm glad you brought up the tossing and turning and crying, the impact that it's having. What about you, Danielle?
Yeah, I prefer not to give her my breath.
I love you.
It's not worth my energy. It's not worth my time. So I don't care. Like,
all right.
Over here or going after revival, you do whatever the heck you want to do over there. I don't care, because you can't distract me from what God is doing. And he's over here doing reconciliation and justice. So I don't got time for what you're doing over there. I don't care. Why would I take my eyes off the Lord?
I love it. All right, how about this? But I didn't know. I didn't know. Destiny talked about passively, that people who are, what you said, blind.
Mm-hmm.
When you come in, how does that make you feel from the people who are saying, but I didn't know. I didn't know this was going on. I didn't know. People who are just hearing, like racism just showed up. Jessica, how do you feel about that? Like racism just showed up.
I mean, I feel like I need to reevaluate why you're in my life. How did you get here? Like, it's a slap in the face, honestly, because you know good and well that racism is still present. It was present back in the 60s when Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act. The signs came off of buildings and off of water fountains and all that stuff, but that junk remained in their hearts.
Yes.
It's like, it's a virus, just like we have this pandemic going on right now. In order for it to spread, it has to have a host.
Yes.
And those hosts went home and they started talking about stuff over the dinner table, and it was passive. And I'm just talking to my wife, but my little boy is sitting here and he's picking all of it up, and you are feeding and you are watering a seed that's going to grow up to be a grown man in a powerful position, possibly, or not. But still, if you get enough of them together and they're deciding my laws and my regulations in my community and things like that, that's breeding seeds of racism and hate and systems that were never meant for us. We weren't brought into account. We were not thought of when certain laws are in. We are literally living under laws right now that were placed there without us in mind.
Yes.
We're just in the way.
Destiny, how do you feel about that? But I didn't know.
It confirms your blindness. It confirms your blindness, but I didn't know. It confirms the white privilege on top of that, because for you to not know, you get a choice not to know. I'm Black. I don't have a choice.
Right.
I don't get a choice to say, oh, well, you know what? Let me just turn this way and keep doing what I'm doing, because that doesn't affect me. That doesn't happen in my life at all.
Yeah.
It confirms that there is a blindness. I'm telling you, there is a blindness. The system was created that way. It was set up that way. And you have the luxury of not having to pay attention.
Wow.
You have a luxury of, when something happens unjust to a Black person, to look away. And that's what the system was created for you to do. It was, watch any movie, literally watch any movie that has with race. What's that one with what's the football movie that everybody loves?
Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans.
That you do.
Classic, right? There's so much injustice going on. There's so much racism going on. And what happens? White people have the opportunity at every single one of these occurrences to literally just, oh, well, we're just gonna walk up out of this door. We're just gonna turn away. They just get to dismiss themselves from the entire equation happening. That is their experience, to just be able to just float away, or I don't know where you go in your mind, but you're just up and out. And that is not our experience. So it confirms your blindness. It confirms the privilege. It's a privilege to be able to not be affected, to just look away, to just go on about your day and continue I don't have that.
Yeah. Danielle?
I just want you guys to know that Destiny said it confirms your blindness, just in case you didn't catch that.
It confirms it.
It confirms your blindness. Yes, mommy?
Tell me how that impacts you. People that say, but I didn't know, like it just showed up.
Yeah, now that I'm doing like a lot more studying and stuff, there is a part of me that has a little bit of understanding for you, like genuinely not knowing, because not only are the systems set up to oppress Black people and the systems are set up to serve white people, the systems are set up to keep you not wanting to say nothing about it either. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it's there are things like, why is African-American history completely removed from the textbook? They don't want y'all to know that either. They want you to keep operating like everything's good, life is good, but they don't want you to know that either. You go look at any textbook and the paragraph about slavery is like this big, and you got your one picture about Harriet Tubman, and they don't tell you nothing else. And they don't tell you like that the reason that you were able to conquer this is because you slaughtered millions. And they don't tell you that the reason that you were able to accomplish this is because Black people built it. And they don't, so it's like, it's not just that you were blind, like the system, the whole thing don't want you to know either. Yeah. And I mean, I've been reading in my book, like it's so easy to be racist. It really, really, truly is. It's so easy to be prejudiced. Like I was reading in my textbook, by the time you are 3 months old, you have already developed a preference for whatever race, whatever your parents' face look like. You have already developed a preference for that. And then that preference turns into a prejudice when it becomes a negative attitude towards somebody else's race. So if you're a 3-month-old baby and you've never seen a Black person, you're gonna be scared. You're gonna be nervous. I know this because the babies be looking at me like I'm nuts. And you're gonna be scared. And then that grows up and that prejudice turns into a behavior. And once a prejudice, a negative attitude turns into a behavior, it's called racism. So that's how easy it is to do. And I think once we realize that racism is not just like outright, like I'm gonna lynch this man today. Like once you realize that it can be that easy to do.
Yeah.
And then once you realize, like, just break the shame off it, because it's easy to do. Break the shame, break the guilt. Right now, in the name of Jesus, we just break it off anybody who's up here in these lives. We break it right off, because once you do that, once you lift the shame of it off and you're like, oh shoot, I got some racism in there, then we can move forward. It's the shame and the guilt and like the, oh my God, no, I'm not racist, that makes this take so freaking long. Like, just admit it so we can move on, please, in the name of Jesus, please. Just.
Can I say something else, Mom?
Yes.
I love how we're asking Mom.
Yeah, and so with that, because Danny said something about it's amazing because the system is also set up for you not to speak out against it. We all know that, right? Because there are white people who are literally speaking up against it, and they're being attacked for speaking up against it, like by their own people.
Getting tore up.
How dare you speak out of your mouth that racism is wrong? Or how dare you acknowledge that it's real? How dare you come up here and say these things and not stick with the system and ignore it and act like it's not there, which is what we've all been trained to do. What we've all been doing our entire existence in this country is being like, nah, we don't see that.
Mm-hmm. You're causing division talking about that.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I encourage you to speak up, and I do see people who are speaking up. And when you speak up, you just don't even know the levels of
what you turn up
thing that you are breaking up off of you.
Yes.
And dismantling. So
yes.
Kudos to you guys.
Yeah. So good. So good. I want to encourage everybody when they get off this live to just post racism is wrong, especially white people. Racism is wrong, especially all the Black people. I know y'all gonna jump off and do it. I want all of our other friends of other races to just go ahead and start putting racism is wrong. I want all of you who are watching right now in the comments, would you just put racism is wrong? Come on, I see that. I've got one more question I want to do. I know our time is running out, but I also want to throw something in here. Black Lives Matter. Why is that so important why are you guys trying to differentiate yourselves? All lives matter. Jessica, why do we need to talk about Black Lives Matter?
I'm so over this. I am. Yeah, and I say that because I was on somebody's page, and I swear I just need to stay off of social media. I don't know, but she put something up that said, "All lives matter. Stop playing the race card and get over yourselves." And first, I commented under the picture, and then I went to her privately and I inboxed her, and I had to make it real nice. And I had to use the word of God, because if I had used me, it wouldn't have been nice. And, you know, a lot of people have been sharing the story of going out after the one and leaving the 99. Like, what about us? The one is in danger right now. Darnell had a conversation with a friend about this. And I'm not going to lie, when I first saw it, I was hurt, and I was like, really? Like, this is a friend of ours. And hearing how this person perceived Black Lives Matter, I understood where he was coming from. As wrong as it was, what he was thinking was completely wrong and not what it's about at all. But I understood, because some people are hearing it as, we're not concerned about you. It's only about us. It's just about us. And it's like, no, we need to remind you that Black Lives Matter, because go back again. I mean, everything goes back to history. You have to look at the history of it. For centuries, Black lives have not mattered. And when we are killed in the street like a dog, without being arrested, without being tried, without being letting a jury decide or a judge decide, we have to remind you again that Black lives matter. I heard somebody say, well, nobody's talking about Black Lives Matter when Black people are killing each other. A lot of people have said that. When we're saying Black Lives Matter, or at least this is how I perceive it, George Floyd was killed because he was Black, okay? When Black people are killing Black people, which does happen, let's just be real, it's not because the other person is Black. Like, I don't understand the not understanding of it. I don't. But I'm willing to have the conversation with you if you don't understand it. I'm open to it. I won't judge you. And I've had a couple people text me privately who didn't publicly put anything on their page, and I explained it to them. That's what we're talking about. So please don't be offended. Don't be offended.
Come on, Destiny. What do you think? Black Lives Matter. Why do we need to differentiate? Why do we need to focus in on that?
We need to focus in on that because people still literally think that it's okay to put somebody down on the ground and put your knee in their neck until they die, and you think it's okay because they're Black. So, I mean, I don't even know how to say it, because to me, it's so evident that we need to say this, because there's still people in this world who think that type of activity is okay. That kind of thinking is okay. And it is not. So Black Lives Matter because they are not mattering in these types of instances. There are people who don't think that there's anything wrong with trying somebody right there on the street, not letting them have their day in court. They think this is okay. So that's why we have to say Black Lives Matter. Black people know that all lives matter. We know that. But we need other races to understand, and we need to draw attention to the fact that, hey, we might not get the option you know, to go to court and be tried and all those things. We literally might die for doing what we do. When you don't, when you can go on and live your life and live beyond, you know, your mistake, our mistakes could be fatal. And so that's why we say Black Lives Matter, because we need people to understand that just like any person in this world who has ever done something wrong, ever made a mistake, you need to treat me the same. Give me the same opportunity for repentance, the same opportunity for redemption, the same opportunity for grace, the same opportunity for mercy. That belongs to me. So Black Lives Matter.
Danielle?
So Black Lives Matter. Ooh. What was I gonna say? What's the question? Why is that important?
Yeah, why do we need to focus in on Black Lives Matter? Because all lives matter.
Well, Jessica was saying, like, she was comparing, like, they put George Floyd down on the ground like a dog. And I'm like, no, they didn't even do him like a dog. Because let somebody do that to a dog.
White people be
rioting, David! Tearing America up. You know, when Amy Cooper was dragging that dog around, trying to call the police on that Black man, and they ripped her apart, snatched her dog from her in less than 24 hours and had him at the SPCA? For a dog.
Hello?
We are literally seen as less than a dog still. So that's why Black Lives Matter, okay? When you get me an arrest and you snatch up the person who is responsible in the same quickness that you did for that dog, I'll stop saying Black Lives Matter. But until then, I need you to get on my face with that All Lives Matter mess. I need you to get out of here, because so far we do not even, the dog got justice before a man did, maybe. That's why Black Lives Matter, because the dog got justice before Ahmaud.
So good.
Come on.
All right, ladies. I know that you are proud of your heritage and who you are as a person. Jessica, what do you want the world to know about Black women?
We're not all angry. We're not all angry. We are intelligent. We matter. Speaking of lives that matter, we matter. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We matter. We're not going to be walked on. We're not going to be shut up. You're not going to silence our voices. You tried that in the past. This is not then, this is now. And you're going to hear us, and we are going to support each other.
Destiny, what do you want the world to know about Black women?
Black women are the backbone of this country. We are resilient. We are powerful. We are strong. We are everything.
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 We are not always angry, but if we are, there's a reason. You need to figure that out.
Danielle, what do you want the world to know about Black women?
Man, I want to tell them about Jane Elliott. I want them to know that every single person on this earth came from a Black woman. Bow. How about that? Every single person on this earth, that humanity began in East Africa. We all came from Black women. And then as all the races started to disperse, we got different variations of skin tones. And then humans, probably America, because they be creating everything to keep everybody down, created race. And they created a class system that started to say, like, oh, this one is more important than the other one, even though we all came from the same place, and race is a construct that a human created. So that's what I want to say. You're welcome. You came from us. You came from East Africa. That's what I want to say. You're welcome. And we're still gracious and we're still kind, even though you keep shooting everybody. And you know, it is what it is. You're welcome. You're welcome that we still have you in our houses and feed you chicken and take good care of you. You're welcome.
Wow. I would like to take this time, first of all, to thank my daughters for their brutal honesty. And but they handled themselves with great respect. I am very proud of each and every one of them. And I want to take this time to speak to Black girls and Black women. Dear Black girls and Black women, we are more than the stereotypes and preconceived notions that have been created to keep us bound and boxed in. We matter. Our presence matters. Our voices matter. And our votes matter. Make no mistake about it. We are powerful. We disrupt the norm and change the system for the betterment of all people. So, dear Black girls and Black women, be good to yourselves because your lives matter. My name is Donna Porter, and I approve this message. Thank you for joining me for a conversation with my daughters. Phenomenal job to my girls. Phenomenal job. Thank you, all of you who watched tonight. Please continue to share this. Let's spread this. Let's get the word out. And I know that all of you right now are posting racism is wrong. Racism is wrong. I want to specifically thank all of my Caucasian friends, all of my friends who are of other ethnicities who sat through this whole thing. Thank you for having an ear to hear. Thank you for being willing to listen to the hard conversation. Thank you for sharing and being willing to understand and to make a difference. It's vitally important that we take this information and that we share it with other people. I'm expecting this conversation to do as well as the last one or better. Please share the information, share it with those that you know need to hear it. Again, hurt must be heard before it can be healed. God bless everybody. Have a great night. Be on the lookout, because I'm sure I'm coming back with more, because the work is not done. It's not done. So there's a lot more to do. Everybody, have a great night. Okay, all my girls, to stay on for a second.
It says we're still live.
We are. Hold on.